Thank you, Professor Ratnakar, for inviting me to have a talk on at the Red Talk. My topic today will be on introduction to strategic management and strategy. Talk on at the Red Talk. My topic today will be on introduction to strategic management and strategy. Particularly, we'd like to draw you to the concept of the triple I organization, which is intelligence, informations, and ideas. And so there are very diversified, a lot of topics that we have to discuss, and which I am not able to deal with it in such a short time. And hopefully within 30 minutes, I can finish the 60 pages of the about 60 pages of the presentation. So without delay, let me drill onto the topic that I would like to discuss. First of all, there are three things that I would like to discuss to share with you. One of them, the first important thing is what is strategy, and again there are a lot of things that we can discuss about a strategy. We can discuss the characteristics of strategy, such as this brings about competitive advantages and performances of organizations, but and so on and so forth, and psychological issues. But today I would really like to look at the action oriented perspective of the strategy. And then once we finish understanding strategy, we will look into the strategic management, which is a framework, MOXT, which I published, and you can see in this book, which is published by IMRF, and which discusses about many different perspectives of strategy, including the MOXT strategic management framework, and balance scorecards and things like that. And then finally, I would draw you to the concepts of triple I organizations. Very importantly, strategy, it's about, it demonstrates the reasons, it demonstrates the reasons, it demonstrates a direction, it demonstrates something that motivates your company to move forward, and get your employees and stakeholders, suppliers and customers fired up. They really want to be a part of your product and services in the companies and things like that. So, and when you have good directions, your people, such as your salesmen and engineers, would know what to do and how to build upon the concepts. And so, what exactly is strategy? Well, it is really a theory. A theory means an organized knowledge that has that you think is going to help you win the battlefield, the business battlefield, or to be successful. Not necessarily you need to really get into the competitions. You can do in other collaborative ways, design in order to get the things done. So it is about a theory that you can win over the hearts and minds of whoever you're targeting upon. And the strategy is one of the very important concepts. Is strategy is about the totality of activity. So you have to really focus on various different kind of activities, integrate them in a total system sense, and so that everybody move in the same direction. You can look at strategy as the hub, which is the bicycle, and that connects all the spokes, activity spokes. Okay, and because they are connected, providing a unified direction, so everybody will move in the same direction, and creating a patterns or a meaning for them to go in certain directions. So that is called theme. And strategy, again, another concept is strategy as a discourse. Means that we on a day-to-day operations and our encountering with the society and our businesses, we see things and we think things and we act on the things, and then we collect all the informations, and that dominant ways of seeing, thinking, and acting eventually will result in disciplines of knowledge. We call discourse, which is really the knowledge you have, and then you use that knowledge to help you, develop more better thinkings, better way of seeing things, a better way of acting, such as managing the organization. And strategy is, again, another concept is strategy is about your relationship in the space-time, which is the environment, which has the time and which has the intellectual space. It could be geographical space. It could be whatever space. So your relationship within that, your ability to make decisions yourself within that space, and allow people to see the significant value and the image that you are projecting to people. And let me get into the concepts provided by professors Binsberg from McGill University in Canada, and he talked about 5P, a lot of other things that he talked about, which we will not focus on today. We talk about only the 5P, which is very familiar with you. For those business management students who are scholars in the marketing 5P, so I'm just trying to refer that and talk quickly about the 5 P's in strategy. One of the P is the strategy as a plan. So when we say a plan, it is a conscious intention that you have gone through and thought through things systematically, so that you know what is going on, including the scenarios that that you're going to face up to. And so a planning will get you from here to there. And that plan is a goal-directed, provides the goal-directed, lead to goal-directed action, and to allow you to win over the competitions or get your performance done. And so plan is like for example, you want to get into the opposite, get to the opposite, and you have certain weaknesses or certain strength, or the opposite has certain opportunity and threat. And so basically a strategy is a plan such as ladders and that get you across to the other side. And plan can be also a specific way of you maneuvering from one area to another area in views of the circumstances. So that maneuvering is the adaptation is a plan. There are many manifestations of plan, which could be continuous improvement, continuously looking into the situations and adjusting your strategies and things like that. Experimentation is also another point. Adaptations, profession is also the same. So you look at what you need to provide in view of the context environment. And so these are all the different manifestations, design thinkings, caring for the peoples, caring, taking the views of different stakeholders and understands, exploring for opportunities and creative design to equip, to deliver and their needs. And a very important thing is it's not the planning or the conceptions at the mind level. It is very important that we have to do it, action, implementation. So because it is only through implementations to do that you picked up a lot of data, which get translated into informations, and then from there you organize them and synthesize them and analyze them and challenge them in such a way that it becomes your knowledge valid, something that is valid, that allows you to be able to succeed in your business. And for instance, again, we are into the adaptations or the planning in the employee sense or whatever, and we can do it in a step-by-step sequence in such a way that intelligent sequence in such a way that you provide just a reasonable, feasible concept, and then with the sufficient budget funds, allowed you to continue for a while, and then you really do it and experiment with it with your concept, and along the path you adapt and change your concepts, modifying your concepts, and then you implement the concepts again in your business model, and kind of doing it again and again. So you're adapting and you're applying, you're applying continuously. Lean startup is another adaptations employed in your strategy. Lean, it's a characteristics of you focusing on starting out the company and getting it on track in a very lean without wasting a lot of resources. And so it is very important that you look into your operations from suppliers all the way to your productions and engagements with even with the market in a very lean, value-driven manners. And another strategy, another pick is the patterns. Patterns is like some behavior that you can that are obvious to you. So when you look at some of the behaviors, and when you look at certain companies and they do it again and again, so that it is some patterns that you can really observe and see. So that's is one aspect of the 5Ps. And if you look carefully in terms of the what drives and underlying the patterns, you will see that there are certain values, companies' core values and cultures that continues to motivate them and and lead them to do a certain thing in certain way. So it really builds up the brand recognitions and brand images and things like that. So patent also captures a lot of knowledges, because the way you do things are coming from your systematic thinkings and strategizations and conceptualizations, so that there is a patent knowledge synthesized into patents. And for example, when you buy stock, you also buy stock according to certain patterns of stocks activities and in the market. And so it's very important again that you really focus on your strategies on in delivering the patterns of behaviors, so customers observe you repetitively, providing the trust both in the services and product and also the brand, and then eventually the loyalty. And being patents, it also demonstrates the way you dedicated on your productions or operations. So patents of behavior also demonstrating your way of cost leadership and commitment. And the patterns of behavior is interactions with people. So in a way you can develop your behavior to enhance the relationship. And again, as I already demonstrated, that the your way of doing in a lean, for example, lean management, lean operations is also focusing on reducing the waste, is so that in a way it enhances the value. And adjustment times are another patterns. You look at people delivering product and services to you just on time, and things like that. And you streamline your production in such a way that it flows smoothly relative to the expectations or the requirements of your resources and the outcome at the market requirements. And continuous improvement, again, it's another way of another pattern. So those are our strategies in terms of patterns. So there are a lot of other patterns which I will quickly go through. Cost leadership, that your patterns of behaviors. One of them is to be a leader in the way you're managing and the way you manage and operate your companies and your branding, your product and services, your innovation, and not only delivering the values but in a cost-effective manners, and that has the unique characteristics over other people's. And differentiation is another pattern, and blue oceans simultaneously focusing on the differentiations and trying to eliminate and reduce activities that are not presenting value to the customers, and shift those activities that you reduce to innovate and enhancing certain others, do more things on other things that has more value to the customers, that we call blue ocean, or focusing on certain niche area and a certain platform, such as the food delivery platforms, or certain philosophical values. Those are all manifestations of different patterns. And ISO 9001 quality management system is a very systematic way of you presenting and commitment on the patterns of behavior, which is really of strategy directions. And the other issue is the PDCA plan, do, check. So the way you go through the cycle of the continuous operations and learning, it's also your patterns, and people love love you and respect your way of doing, and they will continue to invest on your companies and provide this the sales to you. Another important part of the 5P is the strategy as perspective, which is the angles you look at your businesses. So different angles you look at it, different perspective and different understanding will provide different interpretations of the reality to the market situations, and therefore you will create different strategies. So if you want to challenge the strategies, look at things differently from within. Look from within. Now, looking from outside is the positioning. Again, the perspective, you sometimes, because of the limitations of our concepts, and we really need to look at from different perspectives and integrate them to look at as a whole picture. And when you look outside, your strategy as a position is how you position yourself in the market. And again, there are many different ways, and there are many different reasons. There are many different understandings how you can really position yourself in the market. You could focus on the images that you want to project onto the stakeholders and markets, and you probably should focus on what kind of identity, creative identities, or certain unique identity that are very much different from the rest of the world, and integrity in terms of your moralities and the way you deliver quality consistently, and you also should position yourself cognitively, logically, in the sense, in the mind of the collective minds of your organizations, and as well as outside. How you position yourselves in the feeling sense, emotional sense is also very important. And positioning. If you get a good positioning, people understand where you are, and they know what kind of values you provide, and from that value perception, they're willing to pay. The customers are willing to pay, and things like that, and then therefore it generates more volumes, and price times volumes is the revenue. And if you use that values to motivate and direct your employees and suppliers and to stakeholders to help you operate your systems, be part of your operations that will reduce the cost effectively, yet at the same time delivering the value, and in returns you get a very good profit. So it is strategies in that sense is about stretching both on a top line and the cost wise, and so that you get a good top line, which is your revenues, and a good bottom line, which is your profit. And with examples of IKEA, with that particular value positioning, the suppliers are willing to pay low, even though you request to charge lower, to request the suppliers to supply you with a lower price, and they're willing to supply because the production's steps are relatively easier than before, and the IKEA's innovative ideas provides that particular channels of the convincing the suppliers to supply at the lower price, and the customers, because they perceive higher values, are willing to pay at the higher price, and therefore your really strategy, it's about getting into the whole totality or activity in a very systematic, holistic manner, synergistic manners and visionary way that people can really be a part of you, and that represents the stretching. And positioning is really nothing but your positions with certain unique images and identities and characters in the minds and hearts of the customers, and they continue to be with you. And in marketing, we learn about positioning through the segmentations and targeting on that particular segments within the constraints of our budgets or the timelines or the planning, and then from there we positions our strategies on the market target. There are very different, various different types of strategies on positioning. You can position through variety based, meaning that you can focus on certain types of product and in your market, or delivering certain needs, positioning your product and services to fulfill certain needs, such as changing the engine oil only and not doing other types of maintenance. And you're positioning your company to be able to access only online and things like that. And there are many other different ways you look at from three different variables. One of them is on price, qualities, and another one is on way you want to locate your hotels, and another one is how the guest would utilize your hotels. And therefore, combination of these three variables, you can do a lot of design in terms of your positioning, and you can also position across with certain characteristics of the combination of the two variables in terms of cost leaderships and big difference, and uniquely focusing on certain area. And we have done it with the understanding of strategies. Now I would quickly go into the strategy management introductions, with providing you with the most framework. MOST is representing the mission, which is what you want to do, when you want to do it, and drive your objective. Because say, for example, you want to do something very challengingly and being contributing to society, but they got to break it down, your mission, to different sort of objectives, and from there you look at the means to achieve your objective, which is just strategy, and then implement it step by steps with the systems, with the infrastructures, with the affiliations and collaborations, and even an attempt to modify the concepts of the market. And that is M leading to O, leading to S, and leading to T, and then backward. Because once you get implemented, you collect a lot of data, and it gets interpreted, turns into information and knowledge, so you know how to adjust your strategies and adjust your objective and therefore mission. And this is just a little bit details in terms of tactics, which is how you implement your strategies with business model and balance scorecard, BSC, which is the way you monitor your strategies, and with a set of performance measurements that interconnected to deliver the strategy maps. And again with certain budgets, which provides the fund for you to invest and allocate the proper resources, inputs, so that you can implement your strategy through your business model and balance scorecard to deliver performances. So this really, MOST, is the way you test your hypothesis, which is a theory of competition, and it continues to adjust that theories and hypotheses, and you get smarter. And again, very quickly, purpose, missions, and objectives are just purpose of a company, and just want to demonstrate to you that purpose has a lot of benefits, and psychological benefit in the sense of increasing the morality, motivating people, getting motivation in such a way that drive your companies to innovate, and it's really strengthening and solidifying to positioning and guide leaderships, and and so on and so forth. And it provides, because people understand your mission and vision, so it really reduces the frictions between each others, and so therefore you get a more harmonious types of environment. Missions and objectives are also should be designed in such a way that that is not narrow. It has this scopes of the ability and capability to embrace diversity. So it really has this purpose of accommodates and value differences, and providing that kind of atmospheres and environments and system which leads to creations of synergies in the working relationship with the rest of the stakeholders. And because of that psychological motivations and ability, it really unlocks a lot of energies and patience and commitment, and your organizations basically are the energetic move. And it is a continuous evolving process, as I already demonstrated to you, the MOXT. And so you also need to focus on your objective. There are short term and long term, and knowing where is your importance area, the priority, and also understanding the different stakeholders, what do the investors want, what do your operator, the employees want, and your customers, and so on, so forth. To integrate them to regular activities becoming your strategy. You can look at MOXTs in this direction as well. It's not in the sequential sense, but missions which eventually you want to arrive at the strategy as the objective outcomes, so missions becomes your foundations of why your companies gotta be formed. And with certain values and vision, and the rest is just your strategies and your tactics, implementations, and the way you monitor things, balance scorecard, and the way you break your objective into even more subtle and more smaller types of goal, things like that. And eventually, if you accomplish those, you will achieve a strategic outcome. And don't forget about personal objective as well, because a company also has a lot of employees, and individual employees' objectives should also be aligned with that. Okay, and this is the nature of balanced scorecard, but I would like to demonstrate to you something that the textbook has not presented, which is in terms of the MOXT logics. And so, providing there is certain missions that we want to accomplish, and one of the objectives is long-term shareholder value, and so that is the O. And how do we achieve the O? That is the strategy. So we have two different types of strategy. As an example, productivity strategies that taking care of the operations and the cost ones, and the growth strategy looking into the perceptions of the consumers and the brand management issues, so that your companies can continue to grow your revenue. And the balanced scorecard is focusing also on the concept that you're trying to balance between financial and non-financial strategies, and so it is a very balanced things, and perspectives is just the way you look at things. If it creates a domains or a dimensions of your concept. And so balanced scorecard saying that your companies needs to have four different perspectives that to integrate them to form a holistic strategy, starting with learning and growth, which you again need to focus on three very important variables, which is your human capital and information capital and your organizational capital. The organizational capital is very important. Human capitals, when they come to your organization, to stay with the organizations until maybe 5 p.m. and then they go home. But it is the informations in the organizational capital that continue to run behind the scene, and such as your processes and your systems that you utilize the human resources to help you organize the information and turn it into machineries and culturals in that sense. And that with learning and growth, when you define and consolidate those learning and growth and strengthening them, the capability to take intangible perspective, it will help you improve and design and manage and innovate on your internal business processes. Various different types of processes, operations processes, and customers management and innovative processes, business ecosystem processes, the way you manage your regulation and things like that. And doing that, operations will, if you do a good job on the operations, eventually it will lead to deliver a good set of customer value propositions, including presenting the brand identity, integrity, and images, and also having a good relationship with the customers. So you really so the operations is very important to activate and deliver the customer objectives and customer strategies, and if you can do a good job with the customers, and for sure you will gain a success in the financial that is MOSDs. But bear in mind that certain operational or certain strategies that you develop committed to, or it takes time to return. Operational effectiveness are probably faster, and that comes along with customers management, and then follows by product innovations, which you really have to take longer time. So patience is very important, that you really have to understand that certain strategies really take time for get the returns. And lastly is the good citizens, which is corporate citizens, corporate social responsibilities and things like that. Okay, so quickly go through couple of characteristics of the learning and growth, which is intangible capital. Intangible capital is the value creations utilizing those intangible assets and capitals are very much indirect, in the sense that you really can't expect that by learning and growth it really help you to earn the revenues that you expect. Really, you have to go through a mediation. Operating, improving your operations and product and services. So it really is go through certain types of processes. So the learning and growth drive the internal business processes, and then which you can drive the customers to like your product and services, and eventually will get your finance. So its value creations is indirect in the sense, and you got to the intangible capitals, such as human capital, information capital, organizational capital. To make use of it, you really have to present that in the context of your strategy. And for instance, you have different types of products nature, such as maybe commodity products or maybe innovative product, and then you probably have to make your logistics and supply chains relative to with respect to all these products, and therefore for the commodity, maybe efficient supply approach, and maybe the innovative product and market response supply approach. And then from the from picking up the informations, and you will be able to improve and design your operations. For example, how to win your operations through cost, quality, delivery, flexibility is also part of the corporate customer value propositioning. And from there, it really once you understand what customers you need to values you need to deliver through your operations and processes, then you can go back and into your balance scorecard or your MOXT to really improve, invest on the strategic collaborations, which would drive operational collaborations in terms of reducing improving the operational efficiencies and how they use the resources, and from there it will help you achieve the market development. So market development is again another internal business processes operation. Okay, it's value, intangible values or potential, in a sense that if you do nothing about it, it continues to remain potential, but really it doesn't help your company. So really you have to implement it, and so that the potentials become the actual reality, and assets need to be bundled together, and so you really need to combine different types of assets, tangibles and intangible. For example, without the informations, your human capital will not work, and without the corporate cultures, organizational capital, your human capital becomes very fragmented. And so it is really a combination of all these assets that deliver the value. So strategies really forcing you to look things into a more holistic, systemic manners. And again, we are we are not we are just trying to look at from various different perspectives and integrate them, bundle them for benefiting the company. This is just in standard versions, which is represented in this graph. Standard in the sense that the MOXT, again, there are a lot of organizational learning, continuous feedback loop that you fully utilizes the informations and ideation. But then once you get once you learn whether from yourself or from competitors or from the markets or from textbooks, or eventually you will accumulate a whole bunch of knowledge that is called the knowledge repertoire. We call it the strategic management discourse, which I have just explained, and they would becomes your intelligence resources, which you can use your intelligence resources to help you to generate the information that you need, and you use that to help you provide the ideation. So that is really a triple I organization starting to take place, and there are a lot of different types of knowledges in the literatures or in the society. For example, the history is your intelligence, is your knowledge, the cultures and knowledge stocks, and the resources and capability that you and the rest of the stake players in the markets are also knowledges and opportunity and threats are part of the informations and knowledge. The institutional context, the rules and regulations, and society, culture, and the different schools of ideas of how to manage the strategies and benchmarking and corporate social responsibility ideas, and how you learn from other things that are more familiar to use. All these things you can really look at it and extract it up, and there are a lot of theories involved. It really takes whole semesters to go through each individuals, and then from there we can utilize those knowledges to help us do the strategy. Okay, for example, the COVID-19 2019 changes a lot of things in terms of supply chains and logistics, and certain things that are very important, like healthcare product and equipment. Really, the supply chain logistics has been disrupted, and that will also create a chaos in our country and nation. So it is very important that we knowledge management systems through artificial intelligence and able knowledge management systems that picks up get all the information internally, externally, in view of the MOXTs and feedback to continue to use the artificial intelligence and knowledge to adapt and modify the knowledge so that your knowledge becomes more robust, and so in your strategy becomes more adaptable and more agile. And this is just another perspective of how you utilize the data, big data. So, for example, we created a 3 perspective, and from the market perspective, our job is to discover the value through the big data, and then based on the data that we created and the informations that we, and again, you consolidate those data, it becomes intelligence, and then we use that intelligence and information to help us do the ideas, which is innovations on product, services, and organization, the way we manage things, and the way even we manage our business ethics, and that all created the values, which is strategic perspective. And if we do that, it will ultimately get implemented and realize the values, gets the returns back to us, improving the efficiencies and revenue. In a sense that we are coming to the conclusions on the I, in a sense that we are there are 2 main ways that we can manage our strategies. One of the things is that, of course, the MOXT, so the missions and the vision mission, the objectives are very important. They provide the guideline for us to manage our strategy, and we manage the strategy through the knowledge. So we have already accumulated either from within or outside the knowledge, and then we can use that knowledge to provide our design of our business model, which is the wisdoms, and then we use that wisdom to respond, meaning to respond to the market and competitions. And once we implement it, we get a lot of data, and we perceive our data, and then we interpret our data and turn it into information. And again, it becomes the knowledge. We organize that; it becomes our organized knowledge, and then knowledge turns into wisdoms. Once we have the ability to continuously evolve that and apply that knowledge. So strategy management, therefore, is based on organizational intelligence. Knowledge to data is deductive approach, and data to knowledge is inductive approach. So there are deductive and inductive way of managing the strategy. And the strategy management based on organizational intelligence really is nothing but developing the ability to perceive. So you gotta have infrastructures and business investments and system and people to help you execute the perceptions and interpretation, organizations and responding to the society, to the competition. And in doing so, it becomes your knowledge. This is how you form your knowledge, and this is called strategic discourse, grounded in the way you see things, you think things, and you add on things. And this is deductive in the sense, of course, inductive in that sense. So we eventually arrives at the triple I organization. So we use the intelligence to help us analyze the information. Without information, you don't have intelligence. Without intelligence, you really can't make use of information. So eventually, that interactive or intelligence information should be able to help you and guide your ideations, which is your strategies. Triple I strategy would lead to develop the triple I organizations. There are various different ways we can test and reason up whether our strategic choice is robustly efficient or effective or not. And one of them is how consistent our objectives and goals or strategy from one area to another area. That is consistency. And how do we able to adapt to different environments and scenarios, consonants, and do we deliver certain competitive advantage? And are we really able to implement it with the resources that we have, feasibilities, and just demonstrating to you the knowledge that I have just explained. There are three very important groups of knowledge. One of them is we call it strategy tripod, which is like three legs of a chair. Without any one of the legs, the chairs will not be stable, and the strategies will not be effective, and the organizations will fail to execute and lead to performances. So one of them is the institutional industry-based view, which is one of the leg, and very important that we have to be in that industry. We really have to understand the industries, know the environments, and know us. This is very important things. And the second thing is the firm-specific capabilities, which is really to look from within rather than looking from the outside. So you really have to really understand who you are, where you are, what is your strength and weaknesses, and then you can position correctly to the external world. And the thing is to make use of the institutional rules and regulations and cultures and ethics, so that we do things in harmony with the environment. And once we understand the objectives and threat, and the opportunity and threat and strength and weaknesses through this tripod, meanings that we are sensing things through these three perspectives, and then we respond with the strategy. So sense and respond. We respond with strategy. And again, we only focus on the P, and there are various different types of theories which we already discussed within the particular P, and that strategies would therefore, upon implementations, would deliver competitive advantages and cooperative advantages, and with that advantages comes the performances in terms of growth, profits, market share, both locally and globally. And that concludes my discussion. Thank you very much for giving me the opportunity to talk on the Right Talk, and thank you, Professors Ratnakar, and best wishes to everyone, and stay safe for the COVID-19. Thank you, and have a nice day.
Thank you, sir. I take this opportunity to thank Dr. Chai Ching Tan for his informative speech on strategic management. Today, strategy choice testing is missing in decisions taken by many multinational companies. To mention in broader perspective, governance in so-called developed nations, strategy choice testing is missing. I believe that today Dr. Stan's talk have enlightened us that strategic management based on organizational intelligence will help us to reach the institutional goals. Thank you, sir. We congratulate Dr. Chai Ching Tan and honor him today with the Red Talks honor title, Red Talks Global Speaker. I thank all the virtual audience for participating in the interesting and informative webinar. Please click the attendance button and submit your attendance. Post your questions, if any, on the questionnaire button. They will be taken up after this webinar and will be answered shortly on your individual WhatsApp. Please fill the feedback by clicking the feedback button. All the enrolled delegates shall receive e-certificates in 3 working days. www.redtalks.net is our official website. Please visit us for the upcoming programs. You may also like us on Facebook, facebook.com/redtalksdaily for the updates. Every Wednesday and Saturday, 5:30 p.m. to 6:30 p.m. we have regular Red Talk speakers to speak to us. Please encourage your friends also to join with us. Stay safe. Thank you all. Signing off, Dr. Ratnakar, Director, Red Talks Daily International.